Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode in our short series looking at beginning in Blender. And today, we're going to be looking at Blender's UI, more specifically the different windows and options you can have. Well, the best features of Blender is that you can completely customize the way your screen looks and the different windows you have open. And each window does a different job. So we've looked a lot at the 3D view, which does one function, but you notice we also have this timeline at the bottom of our screen. We have a buttons window over here where we can change different properties, and a sort of hierarchy view over here. And the first thing you can do is resize any of these windows to fit certain things. So for example, I don't like the size of my little hierarchy up here, so if I hover over the gap between two windows until my cursor turns into two little arrows, I click and drag down, and you notice I've made that window bigger, but as a result I have made the window below smaller, because despite being able to resize different windows, you've only got a set amount of screen space available to use. And this is true of any of the windows. If I hover down to here, I can zoom it up or down. Even a little tool shelf, we can make that bigger or smaller based on the amount of space we want to use. And there's a few things in each of our windows that are the same. Despite each one having different properties and ideas, there's a few sort of default things that a window's got. And the first thing is this little sort of header or footer we've got here with a few little options. So we've got like the different modes we can go in. We've got all these options and things we can go over in future tutorials. And we can change whether this header is at the bottom or the top by just right clicking, and you see we've got the option flip to top. And there you go, it goes to the top of our screen. If you like your headers at the top, then fine, and you've got everything adjusts to change to be at the top. And of course, if you right click a header at the top, you can flip it to the bottom. And you notice on the very far left of each of the headers, you've got this little sort of box thing with a few arrows, and in this case it's got a little 3D cube, and this is actually displaying what window we're in. So at the moment, this little cube symbolizing we're in a 3D view. This window here is a 3D view. But we can change that to whatever we want. We just click the little drop down or drop up, depending where your header is, and we can scroll through and we see we've got a load of different windows we can go through. In fact, there's so many here, you'd have to have a really huge amount of screen space to have them all open at once and be able to use them all. But let's just pick one, so let's go for a text editor. So now I've got this text editor, I can add a new text if I want and type in there. And you notice this whole window has been converted to a text editor. And there you go, that's my text. I'm just going to click a little X down there to get rid of that. And if we click back down on a little square and go back to 3D view, it's back the way it was. But what if we want to create a new window, a new little area of screen space? Well, from Blender 2.5, we've got these little icons in the corner. We've got these little sort of tabs, like a page fold. And if we hover our mouse over that, you notice we get a little cross. And if we click that and drag, you notice Blender instantly creates a new window. And as you see, it adjusts to the amount of space you can give this window. You can make it as big or as small as you like. And I'm just going to release the left mouse button, and that's my new window created. And I can convert this to a graph editor if I wanted, and I can change with my graphs, or I could do a image editor. I can just customize this to the way I want, and if I want that, and then I can of course drag out another window. In fact, you can just have as many windows as you have screen space for. So, but once you've got windows open, you want to know how to close them. You notice if you take this little page fold and instead of dragging it to the left, you drag it to the right, you get this little arrow appear. And this is actually collapsing a window. So if you do it this time, it will collapse that window into this one. And of course, if you do it that way, it will collapse this window into that one. And you can just keep doing this, dragging it to the right until you've got rid of all the windows you don't want. You can actually do these with the windows you've already got set up. So, say for example, I wanted to drag this window down in here, and I can just resize this to whatever I want. And that's how you sort of edit windows. And there's another way to edit windows. If you just go over to the gap between two windows, until your mouse turns into those two little arrows, right click, and you have some area options. You can split area, which creates a new window. And in fact, if you're splitting an area and you want it to be a vertical break rather than a horizontal or vice versa, you literally just push the middle mouse button, or if you don't have a 3-button mouse, Alt left click, and that switches it around. So I can have a vertical window and just go hover over join area and I get those arrows. Or if I so wished, I could do split area and have a horizontal break like that. So it's going to join areas. And if once you've got a sort of user interface you like, you can actually save these into predefined user interfaces you can use. So if we go up to the top of the screen, you notice we've got this little box here. We've got one that says scene, and we'll go over that in another tutorial. But here we've got one that just says default, and that's what screen layout we're in. So we can have any kind of screen layout, and if we click this little drop down, we've got a different one sort of predefined for us. So we can go to compositing, and that sets up our screen to what Blender thinks the windows we're going to need if we're compositing. We can do animation, and we've got all the possibilities for animation, and of course we got default, and that takes us back to here. And you notice because we've edited default, it goes back here. But if we wanted to create our own screen layout, just click this little plus button, give it a name. So I'm just going to call it Nick's layout, and say in this layout I want to split this area, and at the top I want a graph editor. And you notice when I click the drop down, I can click Nick's layout, and I can also go back to my default view, which I'm going to put back, join the area. And of course, once you've got your layout set up, like Nick's layout, just file, save user settings, and there you go, that saves it as the default blend file. So now whenever you open, you're on this layout. Okay, so I've hoped you found this tutorial useful. It's quite short on setting up your own windows in Blender. If you can't wait to get some more content, head over to pearson-productions.co.uk, and you can talk about the blog, the forum, and follow along with the podcast and watch some of the previous episodes in the series if you've missed them. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and until next time, thank you for watching.